Hello everyone, this video got a little off track. I had some issues and it kind of threw me off. Then it had to be taken over multiple days. So it's not going to be my greatest video in the world, but it definitely will kind of go over this thing. We're going to do a separate video on the controls and how this all works because it's a whole nother thing and it would add extra length onto this video. And this one's going to be long enough as it is with all the testing we're trying to do. So hope you enjoy it. Hello everyone, welcome to Past Preserver. It's starting to get a little chilly in here. We're around 43 degrees right now. So we got this Vevor Tough Tools half the price diesel heater in, and we're going to go over unboxing it, setting it up. I'm going to run this thing outside first, so it's going to be a little longer video. I'm kind of wanting to put it over there. I kind of want it like in the middle of the shop. I'm trying to get away from running these electric heaters all the time, and I got 4 of them in here, and I can get it up into around 60 or so, 65 when it's really cold outside, which isn't bad, but I'm hoping running diesel out of this. And yes, this one comes with a power adapter, but let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, I cheated a little bit. There'd be pieces of styrofoam on either side and this would be in a box, but we have a power supply. That's something you want to keep an eye out for because not all of these Vevor heaters come with them. This is the intake tube. It was in the box. I should have saved it, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to look and check this thing out. There's one major thing I don't like about this one compared to others, and we'll get to that in a second. The bottom box is filled with accessories, and the instruction manual is just kind of down there in the bottom of the box. I don't know how I feel about that because, yeah, it's stuck to the tape. That's awesome. Well, who needed the last page anyway? So, we do have an owner's manual. I am going to look through that because we're playing with fire and this could, you know, explode on us. It shouldn't, but there's always potential. I'd rather not blow up. So inside the box, we have 4 of these hoses. They go onto the front of this unit, and that kind of lets you direct the air around however you want. And these all have clamps. There's a whole package full of nothing but clamps for this. So you get a bunch of clamps. So now we can have this octopus-looking monstrosity coming out of here. Really, this isn't any different than the normal one with the single hole. It just has 4 of these instead of one big opening. It's the same thing inside. We also get our exhaust pipe and muffler. This goes on the end. It has a little bracket and of course a clamp so you can put this muffler on to silence it. There's a little kink in the end here. We'll have to take note on that. We do get a power supply that plugs into the back, and this goes out to a 12-volt battery, red positive, black negative. We get a sock to go over this heater tube, so that way it'll help keep it from getting super hot and catching fire if it touches something. We have a intake filter that goes on the end of this real long skinny tube. This tube's actually a lot shorter when it's together, but if you pull it apart, these things stretch out like that. So it'll make it a lot longer. But that goes on the end here, and there'll be a clamp. So when you stick this thing outside, it'll have a little bit of protection from a critter or something crawling up the hole. That'd be bad if a mouse got into this thing. We have the feet that slide onto this unit. Some of them just have it as a little piece of metal around. This one here has feet that slip on. Okay, on these feet, I showed you the wrong way. You want the flat bit up, not the open bit. I don't know what I was thinking when I showed that. And we've got this random cable. It looks like an auxiliary extension cable, and it kind of is. Let's go to the front of the unit now. And here's the unit itself. As you can see, we have 4 ports on the front. We have a remote attached on with a little keychain deal. We can unhook that, take that with us. Has batteries in it, she's ready to go. This does support Bluetooth. And here's what that little auxiliary cable's for. You can unscrew this O2 sensor and extend it out to where you want it. I think I'm gonna leave it on a unit for the minute. You just plug this into the end and then plug that end into this, and you can put it wherever you want. This will shut off the unit and set off an alarm if the air goes bad. And we have buttons on the front, and fairly simple. Here's what one of the feet look like when they're installed. They just go on the front and you slide it in. So it's a 5-liter tank. It's about 1.3 gallons roughly, and you have 100 to 0% on how full it is. Just 2 ways of seeing into the tank, really. Now, one thing I really don't like about this unit compared to other ones, a lot of them just have latches that you can take this cover off. This one has screws, and boy, does it have screws. 2 here, 2 there. Supposed to be a couple here. I had this top off already to look in there. 2 top, and then it's mirrored on the other side with all the screws you have to take out to get this top off. You gotta unscrew the cap. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off so we can have a look at the inside of this unit. Okay, now I have all the screws off, our cap is removed. We should be able to pop it off like that. Kind of flimsy. But as you can see, there's not a whole lot to see. This is kind of a sealed unit, the burner is. We've got the power going in. We've got a fuel pump. We have a fuel pump up here. Fuel line, it does have a little clamp on it. Not really kinked. I really wanted to look at this, make sure things weren't kinked up. Nothing was going to be getting super hot. It all looks fairly good. Nothing's holding this tank into place, and you really don't want to do a whole lot without this case being somewhat buttoned up because it's very wobbly. On this side, you'll see we have a little extra hose going on. There's clamp, there's our pump again. We do have a 20 amp fuse in here. You pop this top open, and there's a 20 amp car fuse in there. As you can see, it just kind of clicks in. Up underneath is where this hose comes into. This is the inlet, so this is just cool air coming in. The outlet's where the heat's going to be, so watch how you direct this around so this thing doesn't end up touching that plastic hose. Also, you want to make sure you don't really have much of a kink going on here because it'd be pretty easy to push this in and bend it over and see how easy it is to kink. So you definitely want a little extra hose sticking out so this thing doesn't kink up. This is the outlet, this is the inlet. Pretty self-explanatory. These feet just kind of slide on. So I'm going to throw it back together. We'll put some diesel in it and we'll fire it up outside because these things apparently kind of off gas and they got assembly stuff and they smell for like the first hour or two and it's got to get all that stuff burnt off of it. So we're going to run it outside for a couple hours. Then we'll come in here and I'll figure out where I want to mount it at because that's going to be a whole nother thing. We got to build a stand for it and drill a couple holes in the wall and yeah, that'll be a whole nother thing. All right, next thing we want to do is put on our exhaust tube and intake. Now you don't want to get these mixed up because if you put the outlet on the inlet, it will melt it. So we want the steel one on out. So you want to go into your bag of hose clamps and find these ones that say 19 to 29 millimeter. Go ahead and put that over it, slide this on, and then you can tighten this down. The same with the intake pipe. Go ahead and put that on, tighten it down. Your other hose clamp will be holding on the filter. So we want to tighten that down as well. And then we can put the muffler on the exhaust port. It's done about the same way with another 19, and then the muffler goes on. The exhaust has no inlet or outlet labeled on it, and it's just a straight through hole. So you can just put your hose clamp on, toss this on there, and clamp her down. So if you're looking at these hose clamps and you're wondering, how am I supposed to get onto that? There's this hole right here they give you. You just stick the screwdriver through, and you can get onto this side and over to this side. It works out pretty good, and you can get those pretty flush on there, so good idea. All right, big problem with these, they needed to make the legs a little taller because even on a 2x4, this here is just hitting the ground. She is too dang low. So I got this piece of 4x4, and that seems to be enough to get it off the ground. We can put more underneath it or set that on something, but we'll mount it to some of this. So we have to cut this down to mount this onto that so we have a place to hold it. Hooray! All right, we have this in place. We have clearance, and we have an intake going this way and exhaust going that way. Nothing's touching. Boy, this thing's gonna have to be kind of close to the wall to get this thing shoved outside, but I think we have enough clearance for the fan to suck air in. It should be that's up against the wall, so that can go outside. It might be enough, and then this here we can put a little bit higher so it's not in direct line with that. So we're going to go get the power supply and hook this thing up and see what happens. I take that back. We'll throw a little diesel in it first. That way if it starts priming when we turn it on, it'll have something to pump. Okay, so we're going to turn it on. Turn it on. All right, maybe we have to push the button. Oh no. Is it dead on arrival? Did I do all this? I knew I should have hit the power button before I did this. What? No way. I was all excited to try this. That's not good. Dang it. Only thing I can think is maybe that fuse is knocked loose or a wire came off. Guess we'll take her apart. Well, I may have just found my problem. This spade connector was not in there all the way. It actually just pulled right out. It wasn't attached to anything, it looks like. So I need to get back there, shove this in, and hopefully this thing will work. I tried hooking it to a battery because I thought maybe the power supply wasn't big enough, and technically it's not, because the manual is calling for 12 volts at 20 amps and that thing is 12 volts at 12 amps, so it's kind of pushing its limit. Well, here goes nothing. Hey, there we go. Full air, all right. Send it. Okay, so it was a loose wire. I noticed that that thing was just barely in there. It was like backed all the way out. Cool. Okay, so it was something simple. It was just kind of annoying. Well, we'll see if this thing actually fires up. She's still blowing cold. I threw that cord on there because I was wondering if maybe this just needed that extra length in there. Apparently not. Oh, we're clicking, we're pumping. We're pumping. I'll go get my thermometer real quick. All right, we're in Fahrenheit. We're at 80. $90. She's rising pretty quick. Yeah, it's starting to get warm. I honestly don't think having the cover on is going to make a difference because that thing's sealed. Oh, look at that. We jumped way up. 200. Part of it's me. If I get a little closer, we're hitting spots of 200. There's where we're at now. We'll come back in probably 20 minutes or so. Depends on what happens here, because I got something going on that I wasn't planning on. Honestly, it's pretty quiet. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to put my hand there. That's going to be hot. Okay, so out the exhaust we have 276, 284, 310. Yeah, this exhaust gets very hot. 350. So wherever you put this, I was having a hard time because it's shiny too, but 136, yeah, that hose gets pretty toasty, so we got to keep that in mind when we're putting this in somewhere. But hey, it seems to work. All right. Well, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's see where we're at. 229, 238, 252, 241. Yeah, she's definitely putting some heat out. Where are we at fuel-wise? Not too bad for about 20 minutes or so. It really hasn't moved that much. I'll see if I can put a picture of where we were at before in. We're at now. We'll come back and talk. And what about this exhaust? Because that's kind of worrying me. 251, 235. All right, that's not too bad. 94, 82. Well, we're not getting a great reading, I'm sure, because it's so chrome. Yeah, we're almost 150, 200. Okay, I just shut it off by hitting the power button. She's cooling down, and we're gonna figure out where we want to put it in the shop. Okay, shop's a bit of a mess yet, but we threw it down here. This is about the middle of the building, which honestly is about where I was planning on putting like a mini split or an air conditioner heater unit, like up on the wall here. So it's not in a bad spot, I think. At least when I pull in a car, like if something goes wrong, it'll be blowing right out in front of where I'd have it. So should be pretty good. I just drilled a hole in the wall and threw it out. I didn't have a proper bit for it, so I used this kind of side drill, what's it called? 5-piece drill saw bits. They're kind of made so you can go in and waller things out. A little different from Dame's Discount. I think that place is closed. So here it is on the outside. Strangely, the wind's blowing this way for a change. That almost never happens because normally we get it off the field and it blows that way. But yeah, it's really hot coming out. I've heard some people putting this heat through like a radiator and putting a fan behind it and then having the exhaust vent out, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. It feels like a waste of heat though. There's definitely a lot coming out of this thing, so not too bad. I don't know, I think I'd want to put that air intake up a little higher, get some extra hose and extend it out if I'm going to do that, put it outside. But on this muffler, there is a drain hole down low, down here. So you want to make sure that's face down, and you kind of don't want this thing kinked upwards. You want to keep rain and moisture and stuff from getting in it. So kink it down some. Coming into the shop, yeah, it's a little noisy. Not smoky, no weird smells. Letting it run for a couple hours before we got into this definitely was a good idea. I need to put some sealant around that, high temp sealant, and that'll be good. So we'll come back here tomorrow. It should be cooler tomorrow morning, and we'll see how well this thing brings the shop up to temperature. Woohoo! Looking forward to it. For anyone wondering, I did throw the air intake on the outside. It's kind of up above the exhaust, and this thing's blowing back that way. So this thing, basically, someone asked me what it was doing in a short I did. It's sucking in air from the outside instead of trying to suck in air from the inside, where it'll be pulling in through all the gaps. It'll be pulling it through and then trying to ship it out. This here, it's taking in the cold air, heating it up, and then sending out as what seems to be wasteful exhaust heat. I mean, that is yeah, almost 300-400 degrees inside of there. But you know, we might be able to do something with that in the future. I don't know. I've seen people set this up to like a radiator thing and put a fan behind it, or maybe I'm making that up in my head, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Have this blow through like a radiator and blow. I could have sworn I saw someone talk about doing that. So anyway, yeah, get some extra heat that way, because this pipe is a little, yeah, 142. She gets a little warm. Well, we finally hit a cooler day. It claims to be 37 out right now, and it's 42 in the building. We do have frost starting to form on the windshields and stuff, so we'll go ahead and kick this on, and we'll see how long it takes. We'll come back in about 10 minutes or so and see how well it warms this building up. This is a 26 by 36 building. I gotta measure it, make sure. It's been a while, but pretty good sized building. Yeah, just started ticking. It's starting to get warm. Let's get some building shots here. That corner about 32, 36 over there, 38 across the building there, 34. Check the floor. It's about 48 on the floor. Okay. And high point of the ceiling, 29. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. Well, only really about 10 minutes it's actually running because it has the whole pre-start procedure it's got to go through. So after about, let's say, 10 minutes of actually running, over there we're 39. Hold on. My laser shut off. There it goes. Over there we're about 40-ish. That corner, 40. Up there, 43. And up high at the point, 38. So even that's come up some. So yeah, it's definitely getting warmer in here. And according to our temperature gauge, we're at 43.8. So that's not too bad. It's taking the chill out of the air. Okay, here we are about 20 minutes later. 20 minutes total, I should say. 38 over there. 41 over there. Not a whole lot of change in 10 minutes. Yeah. And yep. But this one does say we're up to 44.6. I think what I'm going to do is throw this fan in front of it and see if that makes any difference. Speeds it up a little bit. So here we are, a true half hour since this thing actually started putting heat out, because before it was just, you know, you got your first like 3 minutes worth of tick, tick, tick and no heat. So we're putting out, you know, around 110, 120 degrees. We'll go ahead and do our points. Look, we're 51 up in that corner. Over there, 50. Over there, 51. Back in there, 48. Our high point, even there, we're around high 40 or mid 40s. And this temperature gauge thinks we're 45.6. So honestly, for a half hour of running, that's that definitely gets the chill out of the air for it being like 37-ish with some wind. We don't have any wind going in here. I'm going to throw the fan in front of it real quick and see if that circulates it any faster. I don't know how well that's going to work, but we'll give it a try. For anyone curious, back in this corner where air might not get to as well, where are we at? 38. It's still kind of cool back in this corner, but you know, that's a long distance from over there. So 40, and it's pretty blocked off by stuff. Well, we just hit an hour of this thing running, and she's still putting pretty good heat out. 105, 108, 115. All right. That corner again, 42.8. That corner, 44. Right there, 46. I feel like we were doing better earlier before I started messing around with that fan idea. 40. And temperature says we're 46.7. So, you know, an hour in, it's definitely manageable in here. Light jacket, I can still work with it being in the 30s outside, so that's not too bad. And I'm thinking if I double that up with one of my electric heaters and turn it on, might be able to bring it up to fairly comfortable in here. Let me flip one on and see what happens. Well, we'll go ahead and fire up this Eden Pure. Kick it on. Thing shouldn't. Make sure you clean your filters out. This one had a little bit of dirt to it. See how quick this thing comes up temperature. I know this is supposed to be about the Vevor, but we're just seeing how warm we can get this shop with spending as little of money as possible, because running 4 electric heaters definitely was getting my power bill kind of high. If we could run one of these and that, it would be Big difference. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a burning smell. This thing hasn't been turned on in a while, has it? 50, 60. Even if I could run this for a little while, bring the temperature of the building up and just have that diesel heater keep it there. There we go. We're getting into the hundreds. That's pretty quick. So we'll give that about 10 minutes or so. We're at 46.7. We'll see what we get. Well, here we are after 2 hours of running. It hit 40 degrees outside. And it's currently 55.9. So not bad in here, especially considering it was like 36 when we started. We're still putting off really good heat out of here. 117, 121. We'll go ahead and do our shoots one last time. And I said that the last time. We went 50, 55, 57, way across the building, 57, high point, 59, do a little lower, 74. That's because the sun's out. It's probably starting to heat up that wall. The floor, 53, that really hasn't changed much. Model A, 51. All right, so it's starting to warm up in here. So I think the thing I'm going to start doing is run the electric one and this for a little while, bring the temperature up, and then the diesel heater should be able to keep it pretty consistent. So overall, I think this thing's pretty good. It wasn't too hard to set up. Like I said, I did run the intake outside, the exhaust is outside. And yeah, it's not a bad little unit. It's not too loud. You know, we're running on the highest setting. Kick it all the way down. On its lowest setting, you do hear the ticking of the pump a little bit more. You do need to make a little stand for it. I just used 4x4s. And fuel-wise, yeah, we're getting a little low. We're about, what is that, 50, 25, 30%, 25, somewhere in there. But not terrible for how many hours have I run it? How many hours have I run it on high? That's a good question. There was 2 today. I ran it for probably 3 or 4 the other day, and then I ran it for probably a good 2 or 3 the first day I got it. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's about 8 hours worth of run time on high. I'd say that's not too bad. And we didn't even have it fill up all the way to the top when we started. So we'll say about 8, 9 hours of run time. Maybe you get 12, 15 hours off a gallon of diesel. So I think we're going to call this a video. Leave a like, hit subscribe. Let me know what you think on this. It does have a cool down. Yeah, it's got a little cool down cycle it's got to go through. Don't just unplug it thinking you're good. This thing really needs to cool down the internals before it shuts off. Not bad for a building with no insulation. I do have this plastic up. I did go around and try and spray foam all the gaps. But, you know, and that door definitely lets a lot of cold air through. It's another reason to have that intake on the outside, because it'd be sucking in all this air, trying to cycle it through, and it's just pulling more air in because it's making a pressure there, and it'll be pulling everything in through the cold point spots. So we'll leave it here. We'll see you in the next one. Leave a like, hit subscribe, and have yourselves a great day. There'll be a link below if you're looking for this one. You got to make sure you get one with a power supply if you're looking to plug it in. Otherwise, you got to go get one, an external power supply. They do sell those separately. But this does seem to work quite well. And if you need something for your car, it does come with a wiring harness that lets you hook it into a 12-volt battery. So that's a big plus too.